This is a TheTrain-Li R7 turnout. It happens to be upside down, and it's the right-hand diverging path one. On this particular one, I was experimenting using a Kadee track magnet, which is here, and I got it too close to the magnetic throwbar, the throwbar level. It slides into underneath here. In this pocket, I've disconnected it with the two screws that hold it to the point rails, which are right here. And those screws are non-magnetic, they're probably brass. And this is a nickel-plated brass turnout. And there's a reed switch here, and it's actuated by this magnet that's in the throwbar here. And it turned out that the Kadee magnet that I first showed here basically altered the magnetic properties, the magnetic field into this throwbar here because it was too close. And it basically weakened it to such a point where it wouldn't actuate the little reed relay, which operates on magnetism. And for example, I can slide it in and out here, which is the normal way it would be put in, and there's no clicking action. I can even put it right on top of it. So Axel Tillman, the owner of TheTrain-Li USA, was kind enough to supply me with a replacement magnet. He gave me two of them. This one, which is a little longer, it seems to be very similar to the length of the one that's in this throwbar lever now, and a shorter one. And so I can illustrate these two by just putting it near here. And it turns out that the longer one seems to have a bit of a weak feel, but at least it causes the reed relay to click and switch, since it switches when it clicks. And the shorter one actually seems to be a bit stronger, and it's the one I'm going to use, and that's the one that Axel Tillman recommended that I use. And he also recommended gluing it into the throwbar level with a silicone-based glue, and this one here is meant for such applications, including fish aquariums, so it should work in an outdoor environment. And it's because, as he describes it, the throwbar level is sort of a fatty plastic, and the silicone will be best to hold it on. I've cut some of the existing silicone away from the existing magnet, and I have to remove some more of it. But just to illustrate the effects on the compass here, the compass is pointing to north right now, up in my loft in above my garage here. And the screws here can be, if the screws were magnetized, they would deflect the meter, and they're not. And those are the screws that hold the point rails, the throwbar to the point rails. And this is the magnet. I've marked the poles on it, south and north, on all of these with the tape here. So if I bring it near the compass, I can get a kind of an idea of the strength that these things have. So if I approach it with this plastic, alongside this plastic ruler, I can see it seems to start influencing the meter maybe at about 5 inches. The compass, that is. So if I get it closer, maybe 4 inches, I can start seeing it deflect. The little west mark on the compass is going clockwise a bit. So this gives an idea of the strength, and if I move it further up to 1 inch, you can see that it's deflecting a bit more, but it seems rather weak. So in comparison, I will take the longer magnet here, which didn't seem to have as much strength when trying to make it actuate the reed relay, and see how it compares. And just watch the compass here, and if I bring it closer, it seems to actually react. Let's see here, as I get up to maybe 4.5 inches, so that's remarkably stronger. And if I get to 1 inch, of course, the west indication is even further clockwise, so that gives an idea of the strength, the relative strength. And if I go to the shorter magnet, which seems to be the strongest, gee, you can see, I'll wait for the compass to settle down a bit, and then start to approach it here. And it seems to be affecting it at quite a distance. And I'll see how close I can get before it really starts to deflect. Maybe 5 inches, about 5 inches. And the closer I get, I'll bring it up to 1 inch. There's about 1 inch. And again, the western mark on the compass is in more or less that direction. Now here is a magnetized screw, a deck screw, that I was using outdoors, and it influenced this turnout such that the combined magnetic field with this deck screw, and it came from the factory that way, in conjunction with the magnet in the switch. This was not in this turnout, but another one like it on my deck. Or I should say on my outdoor layout, and it was mounted on a deck board, man-made plastic cedar chip extruded deck board. And I used these deck screws to hold the board to the structure, and it had a strong enough field where, with the magnet that did work on the other turnout, in the Throwbar level here, it would have been installed, that it precluded it from switching just because of the influence of this magnetic field combined with the magnetic field in the Throwbar. So just to give you an idea of the influence on the compass here, for comparison's sake with the magnets, if I approach alongside the plastic ruler here and see at what point the compass is starting to be influenced, it happens to be a little closer, but it's starting to influence it maybe at 2 inches. And I can see as I approach it within 1 inch or closer, it certainly affects the compass. And if I approach it, say, right up against it, it has a profound effect, and west is pointing that way. And it so happened that screw, or one like it, was mounted directly under the area of the magnet here, and precluded the turnout, the reed switch, from switching when the points were thrown. Now, to compare it with the Kadee track magnet, and I marked the poles here too, with north and south, the compass is influenced when it's quite distant. As I get closer, it has a profound influence. As one can see here, it's quite profound. And it turns out that this magnet, as I pointed out earlier, overwhelmed the magnetic field properties in the magnet that's in the Throwbar, such that it weakened it so much it's ineffective and will no longer be able to actuate the reed relay when it's going near it. So my advice is not to mount this Kadee uncoupling magnet very close to this. I would say keep it at least 3 inches away, and by all means do not put it directly below or above this area of the turnout where the Throwbar magnet would normally be, because you run the risk, as I have done in my experiments here, and basically ruin the magnetic properties of the magnet in the Throwbar. And there you have it. So this short magnet is the one I'm going to use, and I can see that I put the Kadee magnet 3 inches from the center of where this Throwbar would go into this pocket here near the reed relay, and see if that can be shown up here in the video. It's about 3 inches distance, and if I use the short magnet, I'm going to choose to replace the bad magnet in the Throwbar. I can move it back and forth and hear the relay clicking. So it's it's working with the Kadee magnet at a safe 3-inch distance. Notice I've marked these with the polarity based on the reaction to the compass here on all these, and I just was curious as to what the original magnet would be polarized, and it's at when I took it out, and it's still glued in here somewhat into the Throwbar. And so the north pole part of it, and it will be basically under the pocket like this. The north pole was facing toward the curved section in that direction. The south pole facing the straight path on the turnout. And it doesn't seem to matter which way it's polarized, but I thought it'd be consistent because I wasn't sure if it made a difference, but it doesn't seem to. Now here's the magnet that works, oriented like the with the magnetic poles like the original, and if I turn it around, oops, it still causes the relay to switch. But for consistency's sake, I think I'll put it in like the original magnet was. Axel Tillman didn't seem to have any instructions that way, so apparently it doesn't matter. So there you have it. To install the new magnet in the Throwbar, in the trough here, I took the old magnet out, peeled away the silicone glue that had held it in. Axel recommended using a rubber band, so I have this very small rubber band I got from Kadee couplers that basically hold the Kadee couplers in the little plastic box, and salvage it for that. And that's so you can calibrate the position of the magnet within the trough. And I've centered it here. It seems to have worked pretty good. And you can put it inside the thing here and try it and make sure that it's going to actuate the relay in the proper positions. So I can see now with the point rail thrown against the stock rail, and if I move it to the left slightly, the relay clicks, and then if I move it all the way to where the other point rail would go against the stock rail, it would remain actuated, and then if I push it back, it clicks back. So I think that's the ideal place to put it in this particular case. So then the next thing is to glue the magnet in place here where it's where I have found it to be in the center position, but it could vary slightly one way or the other for fine-tuning this thing. Here I have glued the magnet, the replacement magnet, in the trough of the turnout, and when you install it or reinstall it with the Throwbar, make sure the trough is, it goes under here, make sure the trough is offset. So make sure the trough is closest to the reed relay. You don't want to put it in backwards because the magnetic field may not be strong enough to actuate the switch. So it's apparently designed so the trough is closest to the reed relay. So be sure you do that if you're going to repair one of these like I am. So again, the trough is not centered, but it's biased more toward what's intended to be the relay here.